Corey's garage. We've been blessed with some really nice weather here in Oklahoma. I'm gonna try to get out of the way of the wind here because it's a little windy. Southwest wind is pushing it pretty good. But I've got the big block out of the 72 Chevy pickup, and we're gonna wash this thing up before I tear into it. So I've decided to use the old Harvest King from Atwood's engine degreaser. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but my main go-to on cleaning this stuff up is the Purple Power. Now I know you could use diesel and gasoline and whatever, probably work a little bit better, but it's what I got to use here. So we're gonna give this thing a good cleanup already with just a little bit of spray and some scraping on this thing. It's coming off pretty clean. And everything that gets, all the oil that gets on the trailer just saves the wood. So, but yeah, you can see this thing is nasty. And I'm finding out that this seal in the timing chain front cover, I think is what's been leaking the most. So let's, I'll put my coveralls on and we're gonna get to washing. All right, so now we're done with this mess. This was nasty, but I did the best I could do with it. I don't think it will get any cleaner than what this is. I'm sure there's ways to mix something up to do a little bit better, but it's as good as I can do with it. I even sprayed the water jackets out as best I can, but I mean, it's as good as it'll get. I'm not gonna repaint it or nothing. I'm just going to change the gaskets because just as soon as I would go through all that work, I would have to, as soon as I go through all that work, something will go wrong with it and I'd have to have it rebuilt, and then it'll totally get, you know, rebuilt anyway. So, but this is as good as it's going to get, you know, and I'm happy with that. There was a lot of oil and dirt came off that, and I think it'll be just fine. So let's get this home and get it cleaned up and blow all the water off of it. All right, guys, we're back to the Ponderosa. Everything's cleaned up. It's as good as, you know, it can get, really, without like completely rebuilding it and taking it apart. But got it cleaned up. I feel really good about it. Next thing I'm going to do is I got to get this dipstick tube off because there's a plug that's on the very edge of the cylinder block, and I'll take the camera off in a minute and show you. But I'm going to take that out. And that way it'll completely drain the engine block of all the water and fluids and all that stuff, because I'm going to end up turning it upside down to change the seals in the bottom. And I am not into making those big messes. So what I'm going to do is use some heat, back that little plug out, drain the motor out here, and then take it in the garage and get ready to put it on the stand and kind of tear into it. So let's get started. Okay, that was a success. I'm gonna get a new, hold on. Well, my phone's having a hard time focusing, but there you go. It's just a standard kind of pipe plug thing, and it goes right there at the bottom of the engine block. So that's out. Mainly got all the water out of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these pieces back in, and we're gonna remove this engine stuff from the trailer. So, but yeah, everything's prepped and it's looking pretty good. I mean, it's still pretty dirty, but I mean, you can only do so good with this. I mean, especially on these big blocks, these manifolds hold so much heat, and these areas right here, it's just baked into the cast iron. So, and I'll pull that bag off that distributor, but I mean, yeah, I'm happy with it. So yeah, I'll get it on the stand, and I'm gonna remove these exhaust manifolds and use heat, because I was afraid to break these off, because this is like boiling area right here on these motors on the big blocks. And it seems to be the same on Ford as well, because like the 460, 390s and all that stuff, well, it'll be the 360 as well. All these big blocks and stuff with the manifolds down there where they don't get much air, and they cook, man, they're hot. So yeah, here's the numbers on this motor. And if you notice in the back, it said 396 high PERF. That's just like a designation for this 396 402. But I believe, and I could be wrong, but this is a 72 model 402, so it's a board over 396. Everything is basically the same as like the 70, 71, 72 Chevelle, Camaro, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure the camshaft's a little bit different. I think the compression's a little bit lower in this motor, being it was 1972. But it still runs really good. I don't know how much horsepower it had. I think if it was in a Chevelle, it'd be like 325, or a Camaro, but I would guess 250 horsepower maybe. When it was fresh, I don't know. But I think they're really cool. I really like these old motors. So, it's looking good though. Let's put that plug and that dipstick back in so we don't get any trash in it and get it off. So the 402 is as clean as it's going to get. Completely washed it, sprayed it off. It has no more water or antifreeze in it, so when I put it on the stand, turn it upside down, I'm not going to make an absolute mess, which I despise doing. And you know, it would be nice to go over this thing and repaint it and make it look all pretty, but just as soon as I do that, it could possibly, I don't know. What if it has a problem and I spent all that time? I would rather do that to a rebuilt engine. And that way, you know, I'm only going to clean and paint what I've done and messed with. I don't think that would be proper to do at this time for this setup. But I'm super happy with those manifolds, that they're not broken, busted, because I'm going to leave this 100% original. And it has crossed my mind to put like an aluminum Performer intake, but really I'm learning that this stuff in stock form works pretty well. And it's like, you know, I don't mind putting a manifold, but really if you put an intake, you need to put headers on it. You need to change the camshaft. Well, then you'll do valve springs. Then you'll want to do screw-in studs and like the hardened push rods, and then before you know it, you're trying to build a high performance engine for a pickup. You know, I don't see what the need is for it. It'll start messing with the RPM range and stuff, making it, I like the torque right off bottom where it's basically was designed to be. So next stop for this thing's gonna go on the engine stand, and we'll pull the oil pan and the balancer will come off, and this timing chain seal, and that covers the main leak on this thing. I think that's where it's all coming from. I'm not for sure if the oil pan's really leaking as bad as that timing chain, but if you take the timing chain cover off, you've got to do the oil pan. So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to if you could get it to come out of there. Usually you got to take half the oil pan off anyways. So I'm just going to take the whole oil pan off and clean it, make sure there's no debris, and I can check the condition of the engine. So we'll get this on the stand next.